What's up everyone? Today we're making sweet and sour pork. My name is Randy and we are the Laus. We're on a mission to celebrate and pass down our Chinese heritage, one meal at a time. After 50 amazing years as a Chinese chef, my dad's finally retired and he's here to teach you all of his secrets to make the perfect sweet and sour pork, a dish he's made thousands of times. Watch through to the end of the video to get all of my dad's tips on mastering this dish.
大家好啊，又見面啦！今日咧同大家介紹呢個咧係甜酸咕嚕肉。
Sweet and sour pork sits among some of the most well-known Chinese dishes outside of China. It's widely believed to be a Cantonese dish, known colloquially as gu lo yu, which roughly translates to ancient pork. Some tales say the name comes from the sound people make as they gulp down the delicious bites of pork.
呢個膊頭肉係10個安士咁上下啦。如果你係中意多啲嘅，整多啲嘅亦都唔緊要，係嘛？首先咧，沖一沖水嘅先後，將個肉呢個肉好靚，沖水嘅後，就曬佢。然之後咧，我哋用個廚房紙嚟索乾水佢。好啦，我哋而家切咗呢嚿肉先嚇。我哋個肉啲紋係咁一直嘅嚇，一條條紋。我哋首先將佢直紋切咗直紋，即開4嚿。 啲紋攞翻佢一條條先，抽先係一條條喺度先，然之後咧，我哋橫紋切，打橫咁切啊。大概係幾多咧？一個 quarter 多啲啦。嗱，呢個厚啦，厚啦嘛，呢度整開佢，大嚿又好難熟嚇，咁樣就好啦。呢度一樣係咁樣橫紋切開佢，打橫嗱，睇到啲紋啊，一條條我打橫切嚇。
What is the best cut of pork to use?
講到最好食嘅咧，就五花肉，不過好多油。餐館做嘅就唔係咁多人用五花肉，多做都係用嗰啲膊頭肉。
膊頭肉係咪平啲啊？
一個係平啲，一個係冇咁肥，冇咁多油。好食咧就最好食就五花肉。
Some people had asked about doing it with ribs.
有糖醋排骨一樣係咁就係一樣啫嘛。反而你炸排骨咧就一定唔會硬啦。
點解啊？
黐住啲骨嘅地方，嗰啲肉唔會係硬嘅。好啦，肉就切好啦，我哋先嚟醃啲肉先嚇。
For our pork marinade, scoot the pork to the side of the bowl and add 1 teaspoon of garlic salt and 1 tablespoon of light soy sauce. Mix and massage the pork together for about 1 minute to help the pork absorb the sauce more quickly. Then we'll crack and beat an egg and pour about half of the egg into the bowl. Mix and massage the pork for another 30 seconds. We have all of these ingredients listed on our blog at madewithlao.com, along with step-by-step instructions and video clips to guide you as you make the recipe at home.
好，我哋擺喺度醃一陣間先嚇。我哋先切咗啲菜先。我哋呢度咧嗰啲黃色嘅椒，隨量咧你唔使好多嘅呢啲。呢個紅椒、青椒、紅色洋葱、白洋葱。其實你唔想咁複雜㗎，又唔使咁多都得。不過我就係今日將佢個效果會好啲。首先咧，將佢切一角角咁切，嗱，一角角咁切，咁咪靚啦，係嘛？
如果唔係用肉咧，係
食素嘅人。
冇咁多水分嗰啲菜嚟炸就豆腐都得㗎。
Oh, tofu.
Oh, really?
豆腐用隻硬豆腐切咗一嚿嚿咁。
啲生粉麵粉咧係一樣。
一樣係咁樣，咁少少蛋咁，再撲啲少少粉上去。我呢啲洋葱又係一角角咁切。好啦，菠蘿咧就求其啲 market 都有得賣㗎啦，就切一嚿嚿。
要幾多個菠蘿？
菠蘿大概係4個安士咁上下啦。你中意食多啲，咁咪俾多啲，亦都冇乜一定。呢個嘢就俾齊啦。我而家啦，夾埋呢個汁先嚇。ketchup 好緊要嘅呢個汁啦。
If you're like me, you might be thinking, why is ketchup being used in a traditional Chinese recipe? So I went down a rabbit hole and emerged with an appreciation for ketchup and sweet and sour pork as symbols of the many ways in which Eastern and Western culture have influenced one another. Even though ketchup is known as the tomato sauce that we throw onto burgers or french fries, we can trace ketchup back to 300 BC as a Chinese fermented fish sauce. Somewhere along the way, fish sauce fell out of favor in China, but it remained a staple of Southeast Asian cuisine. About 2,000 years later, in the 16 and 1700s, fish sauce was revived in China by traders traveling along the coast between Guangdong and Fujian, in Vietnam and Cambodia. In Hokkien, it was called ketchup. a name that stuck throughout Southeast Asia. Around the same era, British traders and settlers in Southeast Asia became obsessed with their newly discovered ketchup, and it quickly took storm as they brought it back to Britain. Initially, British traders made a ton of profit selling imported fish ketchup back at home. And soon after, Westerners started developing their own homegrown recipes for ketchup in order to avoid paying for imported sauce. As ketchup adapted to Western tastes, it gradually morphed into a mushroom-based sauce, and then a sweeter tomato-based sauce popularized by companies like Heinz. As China began importing tomato ketchup in the 1900s, many Chinese chefs started experimenting and incorporating ketchup into traditional sweet and sour dishes as an easier alternative to making the sauce base from scratch. And coming full circle, as Chinese immigrants made their way to America and other countries, they brought dishes like sweet and sour pork with them. The sweet and sour flavor profile became so popular that in 1983, McDonald's introduced the McNugget along with 4 sauces, including the sweet and sour sauce that we all know and love today.
Mustard, sweet and sour, honey and barbecue. 4 sauces made especially for dipping.
And now, back to the recipe. To make our sauce, we'll be combining 4 tablespoons of ketchup, 4 tablespoons of brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of vinegar, 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, a half teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of water. Mix it thoroughly for about 45 to 60 seconds.
將個可樂攪勻之後咧，你試一試佢，睇下夠唔夠，啱唔啱你嘅味。OK， 攪晒之後咧，呢啲肉要上粉，我哋要上2次粉㗎。一次咧，我哋用麵粉2個湯匙撈過先。
We'll want to mix and massage the pork really thoroughly for about 1 to 2 minutes. You might need to add dashes of water if the flour gets stuck.
粉就俾好啦，我仲要俾生粉3個湯匙。好啦，我哋而家咧冧粉啦，嗱喺呢度用一嚿嚿咁樣上粉，而家正式係上粉啦。呢個咕嚕肉咧，如果喺餐館做咧，佢係用濕粉咋，佢要一次用炸好多喺度，開咗啲粉醬嚟炸，就通常屋企咧就呢個方法就夠噶啦。嗱，仲有咩咧？我哋捏下佢啊，捏嚿肉佢，等啲粉黐實啲。如果唔係咧，佢啲粉啊會甩晒落個鑊嗰度噶啦。嗱，好，粉就上好啦。我哋而家嚟炸咯，開始炸咯，係用呢個粟米油嚟炸嘅。俾油咧浸過一嚿肉就 OK 噶啦。呢度係應該係半磅油咁上下啦。
唔可以用橄欖油。
咁樣又唔得，咁樣又唔可以用，總係炒嘢、炸嘢都即係溫度太高嘅話，就唔好用橄欖油，用植物油咧，譬如嗰啲粟米油啊、花生油啊、菜油都 OK。
You should generally avoid olive oil for anything that involves higher heat. This is because olive oil has what's called a lower smoke point, which is the temperature at which the oil stops shimmering or rippling and starts smoking or burning. Smoking oil isn't always a problem, and sometimes it's even desired for getting that perfect wok hei in your stir fry, but it's a sign that the oil is breaking down, which can release burnt or bitter flavors or even harmful free radicals. Here's a chart that highlights the smoke points of a few of the most common cooking oils. There are a few other factors that go into selecting oils, like whether they're neutral or flavored, or refined or unrefined. Most cooking oil is created by extracting and compressing seeds and nuts, and oils that are unrefined, raw, or virgin are usually bottled almost immediately. They generally have more nutrients but a lower smoke point and shorter shelf life. Refined oils go through more processing for a higher smoke point, longer shelf life, and a more neutral flavor. It's not totally true that you should avoid olive oil, since you can buy either refined or unrefined varieties. But for simplicity's sake, for frying, you generally want to use neutral, refined oils like vegetable oil, refined olive oil, or corn oil.
我哋將啲油燒到300度、350度咁上下啦。你知道睇你油夠唔夠熱咧？你俾啲咁多濕嘅嘢，菜啊或者啲咩都筷子都得噶啦，筷子咁樣收個水佢就得啦。佢會起泡嘅，咁就得啦。而家仲差少少。嗱，俾落去啦。嗱，開始得噶啦。
Basically, if it starts bubbling immediately, then the oil is hot enough. If you want to be more precise, you can also use an instant read thermometer to monitor the oil temperature throughout the frying process.
我哋一嚿嚿咁擺個落去嚇，一嚿一嚿擺落去，擺落嘅鑊之前咧，我俾手捏隻嚿肉，你一等啲粉黐得實啲， 啊，咁好靚，炸起嚟會好靚噶啦。好啦，而家擺晒落去啦。嗱，有一樣最緊要嘅，話俾大家聽，將啲肉擺落去之後咧，你唔好即刻去攪佢。如果你即刻而家攪佢咧，佢冧咗嗰啲粉咧，會甩咗出嚟，知道嘛？就唔好攪個字，等佢炸一陣間先。
Leave the pork alone for about 1 to 2 minutes.
好啦，我哋炸到而家咧，就可以輕喐一喐佢啦，反佢。凡係我哋炸嘢咧，如果炸2次，第一次咧就慢火啲炸到佢熟，然後咧我哋留起佢咧，再燒到最熱嘅油先，你擺喺度再炸一次，咁等佢收翻啲皮硬啲、脆啲啊！我哋再炸佢一陣間。
As a quick overview, for the first fry, we'll be frying the pork at 300 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 7 to 8 minutes, depending on your stove and the amount of pork you're cooking. For the second fry, we'll be frying the pork at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 1 minute. I also wanted to make a special shout out to thank all of our wonderful Patreon supporters for helping bring this video to life. If you enjoy our videos and are interested in supporting us directly, head on over to patreon.com/madewithlau to learn more.
我哋而家炸到咧，嗱，開始轉黃色夠肉啦，我哋可以留起㗎啦。我哋而家咧就將啲油燒到最熱嘅時候，再炸一炸佢，就開到400度咁上下。我哋而家咧再炸第二次，嗱，啲油再熱啲，再炸第二次嚇。哇，睇係嘛？炸1-2分鐘就得㗎啦，嚟啊！嚟，佢金黃色㗎啦，嗱，粉好硬。
After 1 to 2 minutes, transfer the pork out of the oil with a ladle and pour out the oil into a container for future use.
好啦，我哋先將呢啲菜炒下佢先。
With the stove still set to high heat, we'll cook and stir our veggies for about 30 seconds before adding our pineapple slices. Cook and stir everything for another 30 seconds and transfer it onto a plate.
而家咧就再煮呢個甜酸圈啦。嗱，我哋落少少油落去，咁樣煮落去個芡汁咧會光滑啲嚇，光啲啊，係嘛？
We'll reduce our sauce and let it thicken for about 2 to 3 minutes, stirring occasionally.
嗱，煮到佢結就得啦。嗱，起糊咪得啦。嗱，差唔多得噶啦。嗱，如果你唔煮佢呢個結佢咧，咪好似啲水咁黐唔到啲肉咯，係嘛？OK， 試佢。已經夠結啦，得啦。再將啲肉同埋菜倒埋落去，將佢撈勻。
Mix everything around with the sauce for about 1 to 2 minutes.
好啦，就係咁我哋個咕嚕肉，甜酸咕嚕肉就係咁啦。你可以出得餐，出餐啦，嗱，睇到嘛？睇到？第一次喺屋企整甜酸肉俾你食係咪仔？Yeah， 倒埋嗰啲汁落去。
咁試下一個。
啊！我呢個牙籤俾你。
Oh my god！
咩？Yeah， 聽唔聽啊 ？OK， 揾一揾，好啦，咕嚕肉，紅隊食嘢。OK， 靚媽靚女啦，靚女。Yeah。
Oh, I keep putting my glasses on.
Hello.
Got a special guest.
Special guest, Jen Lau.
Right? She's an adopted sibling.
You're adopted.
No, you're adopted.
No, you're adopted.
Okay.
You're both adopted. I'm the only daughter here. Oh, Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Mother too.
Did you say Happy Mother's Day to your mom
Oh my gosh.
and your grandma? Cheers!
Cheers! Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Cheers!
Cheers. Big fun. Big fun. That's very good. That's really good. Really, really good. That's really good.
Okay, we have a lot of questions. A Patreon member and a few other people asked what are good substitutes for pork.
雞最好係雞，
係甜酸雞啊？
甜酸你哋喺餐館有甜酸雞，有甜酸肉啊嘛。
方法一樣。
一樣啫嘛，方法一樣係咁切咁炸啫嘛。
Eight people asked this. How do you keep it crispy?
炸好落咗呢個芡汁之後咧，唔好等太耐，佢啲皮就脆啦。因為佢擺耐咗之後咧，佢啲皮咧炸嗰啲粉就索咗嗰啲汁，整好咗後快啲食就脆。但係擺耐咗咧，就邊個師傅都唔整得佢脆啦。
What happens if you don't double fry it?
啊，年年抱啦你啦。誒，媽媽抱。
哎呀，個個都抱你啊！
如果你唔做2次炸得唔得？
唔炸2次咪根本就冇話想香脆嘅效果啦。咪腍啦，個皮咪腍咯。炸1次個皮梗係腍，因為第1次咧炸過之後咧，佢啲入邊嗰啲肉個汁咧就俾啲皮收晒啦嘛。如果你就咁食咧，啲皮咪唔得脆，唔得香脆咯。所以你再炸過1次咧，佢嗰啲皮嗰啲水分先至再炸乾咗，咁個皮咪脆咯。
If you keep making this dish and it feels like the meat is too tough, what do you need to do to make it more tender?
通常你唔好炸佢太長時間咯，個肉硬定唔硬，取決於你買嘅肉嘅部分炸嚟炸，硬定唔硬嘅唔係取決於你炸嘅師傅係點樣。係取決於你買嗰嚿肉嘅部分喺邊度嚟。
You don't buy the pork chop.
Yeah.
And
You don't want pork chop.
No.
Okay. How do you keep the meat tender?
呢個啦唔可以話嫩同滑，即係炸得佢香同脆。我哋通常喺自己屋企做咧，就用乾粉嚟做咧，用啲蛋醬啊咁啊，再攣啲粉上去，令到啲粉嚿炸喺嚿肉咪脆咯。啊！唔可以講係滑同咩，只可以講係香同脆。
呢個餸咧，我唔係好在乎佢脆唔脆。
我在乎佢有啲梳士。
I feel the most important for me is it not crispy. So if you don't eat as soon as you can, then will be soggy. But I really don't care about crispy.
Yeah.
Even for this though, we didn't eat it like right away. It's still pretty crispy.
Yeah, we ate it like an hour.
An hour. Yeah, it's still
pretty
crispy. It has a crisp to it.
We had 2 Patreon members and 3 other people asked, is there a way to make this without deep frying or a little healthier?
唔炸都得，不過就冇咗呢個炸香嗰個後果咯。你一樣係咁將嚿肉
喺個焗爐度焗，
焗爐焗都 OK，焗爐焗都得，
好過煮，好過煮。
焗爐焗都得，焗爐焗好咗之後，或者你切到晒先，有一嚿嚿可以焗爐焗熟就 OK。不過就點都係冇炸嗰個後果咯。
可唔可以就咁炒啊？炒落咁樣？
炒咧好似啲豬扒咁切啲細細嚿咁樣，炒好咗之後咧，再俾個汁碌炒落去。中式嘅豬扒佢都係咁樣做，用呢個汁，咁啊將呢啲豬扒炒煎好，呢個唔落粉咁煎香就再俾呢個汁上去，俾呢啲料上去，都得炒就得啊。不過佢就唔係切咗咁細嚿啫嘛。
If you want to make it more sweet or more sour, what's the main ingredient you want to change?
你中意食甜啲咪俾多啲糖咯，中意酸啲多啲醋咯。我中意辣嘅 ，OK 又得，呢辣椒醬落去咯，一樣得㗎，冇一定係話要做我呢個，好多選擇可以做得到嘅。
Okay. You use brown sugar for this recipe. What's the difference if you use brown versus white sugar? And can you substitute it with like honey?
Yeah， 黃糖白糖都得，蜜糖如果你係中意，咪俾蜜糖咯，亦都冇乜緊要。但係蜜糖就好似唔適合高溫煮過，好似喎。
Honey, Daddy say it's okay, but I feel honey sweet is totally different.
What are other ways to get this red color?
Like some are really red. How do you make it that really red?
餐館多數都會好紅，佢就用紅水。
Food color.
紅水落去。
If you want to make very very red, 1 drop.
One drop.
1 drop the red color.
When?
唔係開我開嗰碗樽鎖匙，佢哋俾一齊咯。
Jen, do you have any questions?
Oh, when do I get to be on the show next time? Whenever you come home.
Whenever you come home with us. Hello, all our dear fans, dear audience. Nice to see you, all the fan and audience today. I wish everyone, if you like, you can learn and bring your family happiness, and then everybody have a very, very good appetite for this dish. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe and share. See you next time.